My name is Ella. I lived in a small fishing village with my father and two older sisters, Anna and Clara. Our home was small but warm. We were not rich, but we had enough before my father became sick. He was a music teacher in the city. People loved to hear him play the violin. His hands were fast and strong, and his music made people smile. But then something changed. His hands began to shake. He could no longer teach or play. Soon the money stopped coming, and we had nothing left. Anna and Clara were not happy about this change. They liked nice dresses, perfume, and going into town. They didn't want to cook or clean or care for our father. They said life was not fair. Clara always dreamed of leaving the village. Anna wanted to marry someone rich so she didn't have to work. I was not like them. I didn't care about money. I loved to help our father. I liked baking, reading, and listening to the sea at night. I worked at a small bakery near the docks to earn a little money. I made bread in the morning and walked home with warm rolls in my bag. My father always smiled when he saw me. "You are my sunshine, Ella," he would say. His voice was weak, but his love was strong. One day, the landlord came to our door. He asked for the rent. My father sat on the old chair and looked at the floor. "I'm sorry," he said. "I do not have the money." The landlord looked at him and then at all of us. "One more week," he said, "and then I will take the house." After he left, there was silence in the room. Only the fire made a soft sound. My sisters looked angry. Anna stood up. "You know what to do," she said. Clara nodded. "Go up the hill." "It's Kim." I looked at them, confused. "Ask who?" Clara rolled her eyes. "The man in the gray house. Marius." Everyone in the village knew about Marius. He lived alone in a big stone house on the hill, away from the town. People said he used to be rich. They also said he was strange, cold, and never showed his face. He wore a scarf around his neck and mouth. Children were afraid of him. People made jokes. Some said he had a scar from the war. Others said he had a broken heart. No one really knew. "You want me to ask him for money?" I asked. "Of course," said Anna. "He's rich. He doesn't need it." Clara added, "It's not stealing. It's asking." "No," I said. "I won't do that." Anna crossed her arms. "Then we lose the house, and father sleeps on the street. Is that what you want?" I looked at my father. His eyes were closed. He was tired again. He didn't speak. He only gave a small nod. My heart sank. That night, I could not sleep. The wind was strong outside. I listened to the waves crashing on the rocks. I thought about the man in the hill house. I had never seen him before, but I had heard the stories. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to beg, but I had no choice. In the morning, I woke up early. I put on my warmest coat and wrapped my father's old scarf around my neck. I took a piece of bread from the kitchen and a small bottle of tea. Then I walked toward the hill. The road was long and quiet. No one followed. No one even watched me leave. The trees were tall and dark. The sky was gray. The cold air touched my face and my fingers felt numb. But I kept walking. After an hour, I saw the house. It stood alone at the top of the hill. It was large and made of stone. The windows were closed and there was no smoke from the chimney. The door was tall and wooden. I stopped for a moment, then knocked. Nothing. I waited and knocked again. Still nothing. I turned to leave, but then I heard the door open slowly behind me. I turned around. A man stood there in the doorway. He wore a long black coat. A scarf covered most of his face. Only his eyes were visible. They were not angry or scary. They looked tired. He said nothing. He just looked at me. I took a deep breath. "My name is Ella," I said quietly. "I brought you some bread." He did not answer. He stepped aside and opened the door wider. I wasn't sure if I should go in, but I did. The inside of the house was warm and quiet. The walls were full of books and old paintings. A fire burned in the corner, giving the room a soft light. He pointed to a chair. I sat down. He sat across from me. We didn't speak for a few minutes. The silence was not cold. It felt like the kind of silence that lives in old places. "Why are you here?" he finally asked. I looked at my hands. "My father is sick. We have no money. I don't want to beg, but my sisters sent me here." I paused. "But I didn't come to ask for anything. I just brought you this." I gave him the bread. He looked at it but didn't move. "Why bring bread to a stranger?" he asked. I looked into his eyes. "Because you're alone. And I think lonely people need kindness too." He said nothing. Then he stood and walked to the fire. "I do not like visitors," he said. "But thank you." I stood up. "I should go now." He nodded. Before I reached the door, he handed me a small bottle. "Give this to your father," he said. "It helps with the hands. My mother used it long ago." I took it, surprised. "Thank you," I said. As I stepped outside, I turned and looked at him again. "What's your name?" He paused, then said, "Marius." I nodded. "Goodbye, Marius." "Goodbye, Ella." Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. I walked home slowly that day, holding the small bottle close to my chest. The cold wind felt softer now. My hands were still frozen, but my heart felt strange. I had gone up that hill thinking I would meet a cold, angry man. But I met someone quiet, someone lonely, Someone not as cruel as people said. When I reached the house, my sisters didn't even look up. Clara was brushing her hair by the window. Anna was lying on the couch, reading an old magazine. "Well?" Anna asked without looking at me. "Did you ask for money?" "No," I said. Clara frowned. "So, we lose the house?" "I didn't ask for money," I repeated. "But I brought him bread. And he gave me something for Father." They both laughed. "You gave him food?" Clara said. "He should be the one helping us." I ignored them and walked into Father's room. He was awake, looking out the window. "Did you meet him?" he asked. "Yes. His name is Marius." Father gave a small smile. "People used to say he was a musician. Long ago." I sat beside him and opened the small bottle. The smell was soft, like herbs and smoke. I rubbed a few drops onto his hands. He sighed. "It's warm," he whispered. That night, he slept better than he had in weeks. The next day, I returned to the bakery. I worked from morning to noon. My back hurt, but my heart was lighter. After work, I baked a small apple cake. I wrapped it in cloth, put on my coat, and climbed the hill again. Marius opened the door before I knocked this time. He looked at the cake in my hands. "You came back." "I did." We sat in the same room by the fire. He poured tea. We shared the cake. He didn't talk much, but I didn't mind. The fire was warm, the room was quiet, and his presence was calm. "Do you live here alone?" I asked. "Yes. Don't you get lonely?" He looked at the fire. "Yes, but some things are easier alone." I wanted to ask more, but his eyes told me not to. That winter, I climbed the hill many times. I baked him cakes, bread, and pies. Sometimes he gave me small things to take home, a jar of honey, a bag of dried tea leaves, or books for Father. Each time, we sat by the fire. He always wore the scarf. I never asked why. One evening, as snow fell outside the window, I told him, "People in the village say bad things about you." He smiled softly. "I know. Why don't you come down and let them see who you are?" He looked away. "They wouldn't understand. Most people look with their eyes, not with their hearts." I didn't reply, but in my heart, I agreed with him. One day, I walked into his home and saw a violin resting on the table. I smiled. "You used to play?" He nodded. "Yes. A long time ago." "Do you still?" He looked at the instrument but said nothing. Then he quietly stood, picked up the violin, and began to play. The sound filled the room. Soft. Beautiful. Like snow falling on a quiet lake. My eyes filled with tears. When he stopped, the silence felt heavy. "You're amazing," I whispered. He smiled, but only with his eyes. From that day, he played more often when I visited. Sometimes only for a minute. Sometimes for an hour. It became our quiet routine. Music, tea, and words we didn't always need. Meanwhile, at home, Father grew stronger. His hands no longer shook. He could hold a spoon without help. He smiled more. But Anna and Clara grew colder. "You go up there every day," Clara said. "Why?" "I like it." Anna frowned. "Is he handsome under that scarf?" "I don't care about that." They rolled their eyes. "Then you're even more foolish than we thought." I didn't reply, because I knew something they didn't. Marius was kind and quiet and full of sadness, but when he played the violin, it felt like the world could heal. Then one day, everything changed. I came home from the bakery and found Father sitting at the table with a paper in his hand. "What is it?" I asked. "A letter," he said. "From the landlord." I took it and read. I could hardly believe the words. "Your debt has been paid in full. You may continue to live in the home with no further risk." My heart jumped. "Who paid it?" I asked. Father looked at me. "It doesn't say, but I know who it was." I turned toward the window. The sky was dark, and the hills stood tall in the distance. That evening, I walked up without a cake or tea or anything in my hands. When Marius opened the door, I looked into his eyes. "You paid our debt." He didn't answer, but he didn't deny it. "Why?" I asked. He looked away. "Because I can." "No," I said. "There's more." He turned toward me. "You brought me bread, Ella. No one ever brought me anything before. Not after the fire." "The fire?" He reached up slowly and removed the scarf. I stood still. His face had a long scar across his jaw and down his neck. His skin there was rough and red. But his eyes were soft and full of fear. Not fear of me, fear of what I would say. I walked closer. "Is that why you live alone?" He nodded once. I reached up and touched his cheek gently. "I see you," I whispered. "I truly do." He closed his eyes, then opened them again. "You should go." "Do you want me to?" He didn't answer, so I stayed. Winter passed, and the snow melted from the hills. The sun returned slowly, touching the sea and the rooftops with soft light. In our small village, people began to smile again. My father walked without help. He played short notes on his old violin. It wasn't perfect, but it was beautiful. And I still climbed the hill. Every afternoon, I brought something small to Marius. A book, a piece of fruit, a flower from the path. I didn't go because I had to. I went because I wanted to. His voice was still quiet, but his eyes had changed. They weren't full of sadness anymore. They had a new light in them, a light that looked a little like hope. One day, I came to the hill house and found him working in the garden. He wore no scarf. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, and his face was in the sun. For the first time, I saw him as he truly was, scars, smile, and all. "You're early," he said. "It's warm today," I replied. We worked together in silence. I pulled out weeds. He planted seeds. After a while, he looked at me and said, "You never asked why I live here alone." "I didn't need to," I said. He nodded slowly. "When the fire happened, I lost everything. My home, my music, my fiancée. She saw my face and left the next day. After that, I stopped trying. I came here and stayed quiet. I didn't speak. I let him finish. But you brought bread. You didn't ask questions. You didn't look away." I placed my hand gently on his, "Because I saw who you really are." The days grew longer. We read together in the evenings and played music by candlelight. I had never known such peace. I thought I had everything I needed until one morning a letter came to our house. It was from Clara. She had moved to the city with her husband. The letter was short. "Anna is sick," it said. "She needs help. Please come quickly." My father and I packed our bags. We traveled for 2 days and stayed in a small room near the hospital. When I saw Anna, she looked weak and pale. Her voice was soft. "I thought you hated me," she said. "I never did," I answered. She reached for my hand. "I was so wrong about everything. You were right to choose kindness." I sat beside her for 3 days. On the 4th, her color returned, and she smiled for the first time in years. Clara cooked simple food. My father played songs in the hallway. For the first time, we were all quiet together, not angry, not proud, just human. But I missed the hill. On the 6th night, I had a dream. I saw the garden. The roses were falling. The door to the house was open, but no one stood inside. I called Marius's name, but there was no answer. In my dream, I felt cold again. I woke up shaking. My heart was full of fear. I told my father, "I must go back. I must see him." He looked at me and smiled gently. "Then go." I returned alone the next day. I walked the road faster than ever before. When I reached the house, it was quiet. The windows were shut. The garden was still. I knocked on the door. No answer. I pushed it open and stepped inside. "Marius?" I called. There was no sound. I ran through the rooms. The kitchen, the library, the hall. Then I opened the door to the garden, and I saw him. He was sitting on the grass, his back against a tree. His eyes were closed. I dropped to my knees beside him. "Marius," I whispered. He opened his eyes slowly. "You came back." "I had to. I thought, maybe you forgot me." "Never," I said. "Not for a single day." He smiled weakly. "You make the world soft again, Ella." even for someone like me." I placed my hand on his chest. "I thought you would be gone. I had a dream." "So did I," he said. "In mine, you said yes." "Yes to what?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ring. It was simple. A thin band of silver, nothing more. "I'm not handsome. I'm not rich. But I love you. With all that I am. Will you stay?" I didn't need to think. "Yes," I said. "Yes, I will." His smile grew, and he laughed for the first time I had ever heard. It was a warm, deep sound. The gardens seemed to bloom around us. That night, we sat by the fire like always. But this time, our hands were together. The violin lay beside us, silent but full of promise. Weeks later, we invited my father and sisters to the house. They came with flowers and tears. Anna held my hand and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Clara hugged Marius and said, "Thank you for making her happy." The village still talked. People still asked questions. But over time, they began to wave when Marius walked by. Children stopped being afraid. Old women left bread by the gate. They didn't know the whole story, but that was fine. We did. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon. My name is Madeline. I live in Manchester. I got married when I was just 21 years old. It was a love marriage. My husband's name was Martin. He was a quiet and kind man. He never raised his voice. He always spoke gently. At first, I thought I was lucky, but from the very first day his mother disliked me. Her name was Mrs. Henderson. She didn't hide her feelings. She didn't want me in her house. I tried to win her heart. I woke up early every morning. I cooked for the family. I cleaned every room. I smiled and showed her respect. I touched her feet like a daughter, but she never smiled back. Her face was always cold. Her words were always sharp. I had a soft heart. I wanted love, but that house had no love for me. 1 year passed. I got pregnant. I was so happy. I couldn't stop smiling. I started talking to my baby every night. I imagined little hands, little feet, and a sweet laugh. I dreamed of becoming a mother. I held my belly gently and whispered goodnight. But everything changed one morning. I felt a strange pain in my stomach. It was sudden. It was strong. I fell on the floor and screamed. Martin rushed me to the hospital. I cried and prayed. I held my belly and said, "Please God, save my baby." The pain was terrible, but the silence afterward was worse. After some time, the doctor came out. His face was serious. He looked at me and said, "I'm sorry. Your baby did not survive." My world broke. My heart stopped. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I just stared at the wall. I lost my baby. I lost my dream. After that, I was not the same. My body felt weak, but my heart hurt even more. I stayed in my room most days. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't eat much. I just cried. My mother-in-law stood outside my door. She spoke loud enough for the whole house to hear. "She is bad luck," she said. "She brought death into our family." Her words were like knives. I waited for someone to hold me. I waited for Martin to say it was not my fault. But no one came. Martin stopped asking how I felt. He stopped sitting beside me. He just walked past like I was not there. I was breaking, and he didn't care. One night, Martin came into the room. I thought he would hug me. I thought he would say something kind, but instead he looked at me and said, "Maybe you are not meant to be a mother." I stared at him. My heart broke again, this time into smaller pieces. I cried all night. I held my pillow and asked God, "Why me?" The house felt darker. The air felt heavy. Every sound made me feel worse. Days passed. I visited doctors. I took all the medicines they gave me. I prayed every single night. I hoped. I begged. But nothing changed. I did not get pregnant again. Then one evening, something terrible happened. We were sitting at the dinner table. Everyone was quiet. Suddenly, my mother-in-law spoke. Her voice was loud. Her words were cruel. "She will never give us a child. She is useless." No one said anything. Not even Martin. I felt small. I felt like I didn't belong. I stood up and ran to my room. I locked the door and fell to the floor. I cried until I could not breathe. I looked at my hands and asked, "What is wrong with me?" I felt like I was not a real woman. I felt empty. I felt like I had no place in that house. No one came to check on me, not even Martin. I was alone with my pain. I was invisible. Then came the biggest blow. One morning, Martin's mother said something that shocked me. She told Martin, "She doesn't want a baby. She is seeing someone else." It was a lie. A big, cruel lie. But Martin believed her. He looked at me with cold eyes. He didn't ask me anything. He didn't trust me. He just said, "I want a divorce. Leave this house today." I stood still. I couldn't believe it. My hands started shaking. My lips moved, but no words came. I packed my bag slowly. I picked up my few clothes. My heart was heavy. I was thrown out like trash. Just like that, my life was over. I walked out of that house with no place to go. I had no parents, no sister, no friend. I was alone in the world. I found a small room on a quiet street. I paid rent with the little money I had saved. I didn't even have a bed, just a thin mattress on the floor. Every night I lay there and cried. I asked God, what did I do wrong? I needed food. I needed work. I found a small book cafe nearby. They needed help. I said yes. I arranged books. I cleaned the counter. I served tea. I smiled at people, but inside I was broken. Then one afternoon, something happened. A man walked into the cafe. He looked calm. He had kind eyes. He asked for a cup of tea and a book about birthdays. I gave him the book. He saw my eyes. They were red from crying. He asked, "Are you okay?" I tried to answer, but I couldn't speak. My tears came first. I looked away and shook my head. He didn't say anything else. He just gave me a soft smile and left. But the next day, he came again. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. The next day, the same man came back. He walked in with a quiet smile. He ordered tea again and asked for a new book. I gave him one. He said thank you and sat at the back table. He didn't talk much, but he looked around like he enjoyed the place. When he left, he waved at me. It was a small wave, but it felt warm. I didn't know why, but I smiled back. He started coming every day, always at the same time, always the same seat. He would read for an hour and drink his tea. Some days he brought a small pastry. Some days he brought a book from home. He never asked many questions, but he always smiled kindly. One day, I asked his name. "James," he said. "And you?" "Madeline," I answered. We both smiled. From that day, we talked a little more. He told me he worked nearby. He was a designer for children's books. I liked that. He said he loved stories. He said stories helped people heal. His voice was soft and slow. When he talked, I listened. And for the first time in a long time, I felt safe. James never asked about my past. He didn't try to fix me. He just made me feel like I mattered. Some days we talked about books. Some days we sat in silence. But it was a good silence. A peaceful one. I began to wait for 4 p.m. every day. That was when he came. Weeks passed. I laughed again. I smiled more. I started sleeping better. I even started eating a little more. James noticed. "You look better," he said one day. I nodded. I still cried sometimes, but the tears were not so heavy now. They didn't break me. They just washed me gently. I didn't tell him about Martin, or the baby, or the pain. I wasn't ready, but something in my heart told me James would understand when I was ready. One rainy evening, I forgot my umbrella at the cafe. I was closing the shop, and the streets were wet. James was still inside. "Let me walk you home," he said. I started to say no, but I saw his gentle eyes. I said yes. We walked slowly under his umbrella. The rain was soft. I told him where I lived, just 5 streets away. We didn't talk much, just walked, just shared the same umbrella. At my door, he stopped. "Good night, Madeline," he said. "Good night, James," I whispered. My heart felt warm. After that, we got closer. James came on Sundays, too. Sometimes he helped me carry boxes. Sometimes he brought flowers for the cafe. Once he brought a book for me. "This helped me when I was lost," he said. I took it with both hands. "Thank you," I said softly. That night I opened the book. It was about a woman who lost everything and how she slowly found light again. I cried while reading it, but I also felt hope. After 6 months, I told him the truth. I told him everything about my marriage, about the baby, about the pain. I was afraid he would change, that he would feel sorry for me, but he didn't. He just listened. He held my hand gently and said, "I'm so sorry you went through that." That was all. No judgment, no advice, just kindness. Time passed. James became my closest friend. We had dinner sometimes. We went to the park. Once we saw a little boy feeding birds. I smiled. James looked at me. "You want a child someday?" he asked. I didn't answer. I just looked at the boy and nodded. James didn't push. He just said, "You'd be a wonderful mother." One evening, James came to the cafe early. He was quiet. He looked nervous. I asked if he was okay. He smiled. "Madeline," he said, "I've known you for a year now. You are strong. You are kind. I know you've been hurt. But if you let me, I want to be your future." My heart beat fast. I looked at him. He was not perfect, but he was good. He had seen my pain and stayed. He had walked beside me every day. I smiled through my tears. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, James." 2 months later, we got married. It was a small wedding, just close friends. No big dress, no big hall. But it was full of love. I wore a white dress. James wore a soft gray suit. We held hands and said simple vows. After the wedding, we came home to our little flat. We ate cake. We laughed. We danced in the kitchen. I was happy. For the first time in years, I was truly happy. Then something happened. I started to feel sick in the mornings. I felt tired all the time. James smiled and said, "Maybe it's the tea at the cafe." But I knew. Deep inside, I knew. I went to the doctor. They did some tests. When the doctor returned, she smiled. "Congratulations," she said. "You're going to be a mother." I covered my face with my hands and cried, but these were happy tears, bright tears, warm tears. I couldn't believe it. After everything, I was pregnant again. I walked home slowly. I opened the door and saw James in the kitchen. He was cooking dinner. He turned and smiled. I walked to him and held his hands. "I'm pregnant," I said softly. His eyes widened. He dropped the spoon. He hugged me tight. He didn't speak. He just held me like I was the most precious thing in the world. The months passed. I saw the doctor often. James came to every appointment. He never let me go alone. He held my hand during the scans. He kissed my forehead after every checkup. He painted the baby's room. He read books about parenting. He whispered to my belly every night. "We love you, little one," he said. "We can't wait to meet you." Then the day came. The pain started early in the morning. James was calm. He held my hand and took me to the hospital. The pain grew stronger. I cried. I screamed. But James stayed. "You can do this," he said again and again. And then I heard it. A baby's cry. A strong, beautiful sound. I cried too. The nurse placed the baby in my arms. "It's a boy," she said. I looked into his eyes. They were small and shining. I touched his fingers. I kissed his cheeks. "You are my miracle," I whispered. "You are my light." James sat beside me and kissed my forehead. "Welcome, Leo," he said. "Welcome to our world." We named him Leo James. He was soft and sweet. He cried at night. He smiled in his sleep. I stayed up just to watch him. My arms felt full. My heart felt full. The house felt warm again. I no longer lived in pain. I lived in hope. James was the best father. He changed diapers. He made bottles. He sang songs. Every time Leo laughed, James laughed louder. Every time Leo cried, James held him first. We were a family. A real, loving family. Not perfect, but full of care. One afternoon, when Leo was 4 years old, we were waiting for a bus. The sun was soft. Leo held my hand and sang a little song. I smiled at him. Then I heard someone say my name. "Madeline." I turned around. My heart skipped a beat. It was Martin. He looked older, thinner. His eyes were tired. He stared at me, then at Leo. "Is he your son?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes," I said. "He's my son." Martin looked like he wanted to say more, but he didn't. He just looked down. "You look happy," he said. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. My face said it all. Leo pulled my hand. "Mama, the bus is here." I smiled. "Let's go, sweetheart." I looked at Martin one last time. His eyes were full of regret. But I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel hate. I just felt peace. I had moved on. I had grown. And I had everything I needed. We got on the bus. Leo sat by the window and looked outside. I sat beside him and looked at his little face. His eyes were full of joy. His world was full of songs, stories, and hugs. He had no idea who that man was. And I didn't tell him. He didn't need to know. Some truths are too heavy for small hearts. And some stories are better left behind. When we got home that day, I sat down and thought about everything. All the years, all the pain, all the tears. I thought about the cold house where I once lived. I remembered the words that broke me, the nights I cried alone, the mornings I didn't want to wake up. And then I looked around me. My small home was full of love, toys on the floor, books on the table, James making tea in the kitchen, Leo drawing on the wall with crayons. My life had changed, not quickly, but slowly, day by day, step by step. I still had scars, but they didn't hurt anymore. They reminded me how far I had come, how much I had survived, and how strong I had become. One day, I was walking past a small shop with Leo. I saw a girl sitting behind the counter. She had red eyes. She looked tired. She looked like me. Years ago. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know what. So I smiled. A small, soft smile. She didn't smile back, but I saw her eyes change for a second. Maybe she felt less alone. That evening I told James, there are so many women like me, women who lost everything, women who are called unlucky, women who are blamed when it's not their fault. He looked at me. Yes, he said. There are. I want to help them, I said. I don't know how yet, but I want to. James didn't ask questions. He just nodded. Then let's help them, he said. So I started small. I spoke to the owner of the cafe. I asked if I could use the place for a few hours each week. She said yes. On Saturday mornings, I placed a small sign outside. You are not alone. Come in. Sit. Talk. No judgment. Just tea and peace. The first week, no one came. I sat alone with 2 cups of tea and some biscuits. But the second week, one woman walked in. She sat across from me. She didn't speak. She just cried. I held her hand. She cried for a long time. Then she whispered, "Thank you." That was enough. Week by week, more women came. Some were young. Some were old. Some had children. Some didn't. But they all carried pain. And they all needed a soft place to fall. We didn't have money. We didn't have a big room, but we had each other. We had tea. We had stories. And slowly, we found healing together. We called it the second cup, because everyone deserves another chance, another beginning, another cup of warmth in life. Years passed. Leo grew tall. His hair got longer. His smile stayed the same. He asked questions, big questions. Mama, why do you help so many people? I smiled. Because once someone helped me, I said. Because once I was very sad, and I didn't want to be anymore. James built shelves in the cafe. We placed books written by women, poems, letters, stories. One day, I found Leo reading one. He looked at me and said, "You're in here." I laughed. "Maybe," I said. I never heard from Martin again, and that was okay. He was a part of my past, a chapter I had closed. I didn't hate him anymore. I didn't wish bad things for him. I just wished peace. For him, for me, for all broken hearts. One morning, I got a letter. It was from a woman named Eliza. She had visited our cafe 6 months ago. She had lost her baby and was blamed by her family. She felt like her life had ended. But in her letter, she wrote, "Because of you, I didn't give up. I didn't believe I was broken. I believed I was just waiting to heal. Thank you, Madeline. You didn't save me. You helped me save myself." I cried as I read it. Not sad tears, but deep, quiet tears of joy. I kept that letter in my drawer. I read it every time I felt tired, every time I felt small, every time I needed to remember why I started. One day, a young girl came in. She looked nervous. She held her bag tight and sat down. I gave her tea. I asked no questions. She said, "My name is Abigail." I felt my heart pause. The name, so familiar, so close to my past. She looked at me and whispered, "I lost my baby, and my husband left me. They all said it was my fault." I reached across the table. I touched her hand and said, "It was never your fault, and you are not alone." She looked at me. "How do you know?" I smiled. "Because your story was once my story." That's when I realized my pain had a purpose. My tears had meaning. My past wasn't just sorrow. It was a bridge from one broken woman to another. Now I live in Leeds. I still work at the book cafe. I still run the second cup. I still pour tea every Saturday. I still listen. I still hug. And I still believe. I believe in healing. I believe in second chances. I believe in women. I believe in miracles. I was called unlucky, but now I am blessed. I was called useless, but now I lead others to hope. I was called broken, but now I build. I am a mother, I am a wife. I am a woman of strength. And if you are reading this, if your heart is hurting, please remember this. You are not alone. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are just waiting for your second cup. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.